Peace and blessings, y'all. This is your boy Drill. It is the 7th of November 2016. How is everyone doing? I know some of y'all have been going through some things emotionally, and some of you have been grounded. For starters, this is the beginning of your week. I hope that your weekend finds you well. You were able to rest, take time to do the self inventory if needed. Allow yourself to stay grounded by, of course, placing God first in everything you do. And let me throw this out there too. I also am aware that some of you may not be in that position where you feel comfortable to establish that connection. But just know, all things come in due time. And that is why it's so important that you have a relationship with yourself. See, I've echoed this countless times, but I also understand that I cannot do your work. Because, see, what is being placed for review is the things that make up your aspirations, the things that make up your direction, the things that are already blessed. See, to have those things, you must truly be in a place where you understand where what peace of mind is about. And what I mean is, see, you know you have peace of mind when you don't have to look over your shoulder. You don't have to remember the words that were shared. You don't have to feel insecure about the company you keep and the location that it is shared. Why? Because this is authentic. This is also a description of, you can actually say, love. Because, see, it spawns growth. It defines your empowerment. And the security is there. You don't have to second guess what you're doing because it's organic. We're talking about the real you, y'all. Because, see, we already know that when you invest time in things that will not celebrate who you are by your actions, indirectly or directly, it's a waste of time. I say that because one of the things that is so evident in our society that there's a lot of people that are not comfortable in their skin. So if you're not comfortable in your skin, how can you find security in your feet? Who am I talking to? But just know, y'all, all those things that were your distraction, all those things that were your setback, all those things that made you feel some kind of way, they are being placed on due notice. Oh, yes, yes, they are. And what's going to happen is you're going to have to make a choice. Oh, yes, I ain't got to remind you that. I ain't got to let you know what you already know. Because the question is, what is the result of that feeling? Does it make you feel safe. Do you realize how many people are walking around one choice, decision from a breakdown? Do you realize that? Give me a second, y'all. Give me 1 second. Think about it. If people knew who they were authentically, we wouldn't have that. Because half of the things that are made a reality are impulsively done. Who am I talking to? You don't think there's a direct correlation on how your money comes and goes? You don't see a correlation in the people that come and go out of your life? You don't see a correlation on why it feels like you are stuck? It applies to 50% of you because the truth is you won't acknowledge what is being shown to you in return. And guess what? It's not for their satisfaction. It's not for their gratification because it's your life. Why do you feel that you have to give? That's like asking somebody to breathe. You asking them, hey, can I put my foot down? You asking permission, can I brush my hair? I know that sounds far-fetched, but you have some people that life is basically subjugated to the decisions of other people. Well, let me ask you this. If they had your best interest, why do you feel that you would even have to pose the question, who am I talking to? So does it surprise you that you feel in a certain kind of way these days? You've even convinced yourself that, well, maybe if I do some research and start dabbling in the esoterics, if I start looking or playing with those spiritual doors, what do I got to lose? I tell you, the first thing you're going to lose is your mind. The second thing you're going to lose is your physical self. Why? Because the pay goal or the payoff is your spirit. You know the roots? Yeah, the root, yes. For those who are under the age of 35 may not know, the Roots are hip hop, is a hip hop band. Yes, they're fronted by Black Thought. But every artist, every one of those musicians can stand alone because of the fact that they placed the importance of learning their craft, but come together as a commodity, produce the sound, the music that they represent. You can't put these people in a box because every time that you try to put them in a box, they turn around and they break the walls down. That's how your life is supposed to have been. It was always that. That your life was always meant to transcend, to go upward, to expand. Why? Because that's what's required for that spirit. You know, that little boy, that little girl that's inside you. You know, it baffles me. In 2016, people still do not acknowledge the fact that you are still that little boy or that little girl. The only thing is because you live on an earthly plane, your skin, the exposure, the toxins, what you eat, what you smoke, what you drink has an effect. So you know, why would you think it would not have a bearing on your perception? Hmm? Have you not put, some of you are brilliant. I know I've got intelligent people on this site. I know I do, because the one commonality is you put value in your happiness. You've made a decision that that matters. And some of you are actually taking the step to claim you back. I commend you. Long time overdue. But guess what? To do that, you're going to piss some people off. Let's talk about that. You're going to piss some people off because it goes against the principles of how they want to see you. You know it, they know it, and they terrify. You know, that's the one beautiful thing about change, y'all. Because one thing about change, good or bad, you see the end result of it, but you have to make a choice to accept it. So let's talk about that. Social media has, I remember when social media has always been a tool, no different than a pencil. And now, 2016, social media has taken a life of its own. It has become a mainstay in homes across the world. Even to the point, you have some people that actually think that it's an entity of itself. Well, I like to believe that the same energy you put in it is the same energy you're going to get out. So if that energy is not representing, reflecting who you really are, don't you think now's the time that you make some changes? Now listen, I'm not trying to sit up here and act like your father, but I am going to be your friend. And our true friends' number one responsibility is to make sure that you are seen in best light. But guess what? No one can make you portray that. No, because real recognizes real. And I think that's a problem going on now, because there's a lot of you that are so tired. Yeah, you are. Tell the truth, shame the devil. You're tired. You're tired of your environment. And you're thinking in the back of your mind, maybe this is the time I should pack up like the Clampets and roll on out here. Well, that's a good thought. But guess what? If you don't go to the core of why you feel that way, you know what's going to happen? You're going to attract more of the same no matter where you go. This could be the people that you are drawn to. You know, you hear people say, well, you know, Gerald, it's not that these people are bad. It's the fact that I got a type. You got a type. You have a preference. Now, guess what? You have a choice to do what you want to do. But you know what? With that free will, nobody wants to look at the price of the choice, the effect of the choice. Nobody wants to look at that part. Everybody wants the glory, but nobody wants to invest. Kind of makes me think right now, I don't know why, but I'm thinking about that verse when Snoop said, everybody got their cup, out, but nobody chipped in. Who's chipping in for you? And the real question should be asked, why are they chipping in for you when it's your life? I know by now I probably didn't lost. People didn't cut that off. That I could stop right there because what's happening is truth is coming out, bam, right in your face. And guess what? It's going to intensify more and more and more. And until you can find comfort in yourself, do you know who you are? You know, I keep saying that. I say that for a reason. Because guess what? There's plenty of people out here faking the funk, convincing you that who you see is who they are. You want to test somebody? And I don't say that literally. The greatest test is to observe. Because you can't fake behavior. And you can't have a pattern without behavior. But you can't have a behavior without thought. So you got to look at it from the perspective of what or who was the influencer? Where did it come from? And why? That's why now people think it's so posh to just say and do and think that their ticket, their receipt will never come. And they keep on just feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding. And the person that's serving it walks past. You see them, they look at you, you look at them, and you keep feeding and feeding and feeding, thinking that, oh, they forgot about me. Doesn't matter how many people are in the room or the environment until that bill comes. And we can metaphorically look at that as the price. And a lot of times, y'all, you have a lot of people that want to grandstand on positions, and then the next thing you see, they're holding their face. They can't believe where they are. You know why they do that? Because they don't know who they are. You won't understand that question of, why am I here? You're never going to understand that until you can answer, who am I? And to do that, you've got to be vulnerable with yourself. That means you got to pay dues, pay homage, invest in that little boy and that little girl that is in you looking out. Who you think is inside that body of yours? Who you think that vision is taking in? That little boy, that little girl. But maybe that little boy, little girl is troubled. Maybe that little boy, that little girl has been abused. Maybe that little girl, little boy has been alienated. And truly, that little boy and little girl thinks the only way to exist is to have the mindset of someone who is primal. How about nomadic? You see a whole lot of that. There's a lot of nomadic people in the world to go from point A to point B, point C to point A. And only thing that is accomplished is time is lost. Potential is never claimed. No ownership of activity. And what happens? It robs you of your youth. It robs you of your wisdom. It blocks your insight. So therefore, will the real you stand up? Most can't do that, y'all. They talk a good game and then they fade into oblivion. But you know what? Because God loves you, you do understand you are God's child, right? Because He created you. You don't actually believe that your conception was done solely by way of your mother and your father. Do you actually believe that? Hmm? Have you looked at the process of reproduction? You do understand millions of, I ain't gonna tell you the process, you already know. But you were chosen. You don't think you're special? That doesn't right there let you know you wasn't guaranteed to take your first breath, but you were protected. So that right there should tell you, hey, I've got an obligation. There is a reason for my existence. Surely you don't think you're just on this planet to consume, reproduce, and die. You think that? Why do you think He echoed, love thy neighbor like love thyself, honor thy temple? Because without you, you are the linchpin, the link that will protect, solidify, and validate your lineage. How about your heritage? But see, you got people out here convincing those who are not aware of who they are of an illusion, a fairy tale, romanticizing. Well, if it was such a fairy tale, why are you feeling so much pain? I know there's people that say, well, Gerald, you know, what don't kill you make you strong. That's one way of seeing it. But guess what? Remember, it took 9 months of preparation for you to be able to come out of that womb. Otherwise, you would have just came out on the first month. No, because you were deemed blessed. You were deemed unique. That's why you have your fingertips, your eyes, your smile, that beautiful mind, and how about that big old heart? And guess what? There'll never be another you. No one will be able to see what you see. They'll be able to understand a commonality or a perspective of whatever the focus is, but they'll never understand your interpretation of what you see. Why? Because it was meant for you. Did you get it? Because I know some of y'all are doing this. Remember, back in the day, they would say, oh, talk about somebody, oh, he like this. And that would say, oh, he's crazy. He's delusional. He's touched. But I think some of y'all have also come to know that some of the most crazy people got the most common sense. I've never seen a crazy person walk in front of traffic and rush out. They got enough common sense to wait for that traffic to pass. So that tells you right there. Right there, that tells you they're choosing to accept as well as block things that they perceive. See, listen here, look, let me tell you something. Because I know some of y'all think that the only way that you're going to make it through this life is you got to play the subservient role. You got to be the pin cushion. I'm saying that metaphorically. And that's the only way you're going to have the life of your dreams. No, that is nothing but the devil trying to convince you not to see your potential as well as to be stagnant. And you know, anything with stagnant, that is stagnant only breeds death, a slow death, like pride, like ego. Those two things are so effective because those two things, those people who choose to take that position are the furthest from themselves. You can't get an ounce of truth out of them. Think about it. If they can't be honest with themselves, why do you think they're going to be honest with you? Mm-hmm. But yet society is convincing you, oh, you just need medicine for that. Don't you know that these medicines are there to dumb you down? You understand that, right? Think about it. Oh, Johnny's got ADHD. Sarah's bipolar. Well, they used to, before they had these fancy names, they said, oh, Quan's hyperactive, so we're going to put him on Ritalin. You know what Ritalin did? It made your child into a junkie. That's what it did, because it attacked your brain. Where the mind goes, the body flows. So what about all those children that were on Ritalin? Those children of the 70s are the adults today. You think there's not no side effect in that? You ever thought about that? Just like you don't hear people talking about it, but you need to. If you're an extension of your mother or your father, which you are, because 23 chromosomes are of your mom and 23 are of your father, but daddy was hooked on heroin. You don't think that has an effect on you? If mom was promiscuous and she had slew of STDs, you don't think that genetic signature has anything to do with the immune system? If mom wasn't right, what makes you think you're going to be right? Because you are a walking, talking extension of them. So maybe that might be the reason why you see perceptions, or maybe some of the way you navigate through your life. Maybe that's the reason why you feel like, well, you know what, they don't get me, Gerald. They just don't. It's not you, it's your parents. So when I see now the talk is, you have to talk about autism. When I hear about that, I automatically say, well, what was the health of the parents? Why aren't we looking at the parents? And I'm still learning. I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to sound hypocritical, but I've not seen a scenario where you have two healthy parents, two, and then the child was autistic. And I'm learning. I'm doing the research. And like I said, I'm not going to sit up. This is not a bash. I'm just saying that 9 times out of 10, whatever medical issues you got in your development, because some medical things skip. They skip. Then all of a sudden, boom. Well, why is it now Johnny's got he's an asthmatic now? We didn't smoke. Maybe you didn't smoke while you were doing, but maybe you were smoking back then. See, we playing with the DNA, y'all. See, that's one thing I've come to learn about the body. See, the body knows real from fake. And your immune system will do everything in its power to protect it, even if it means to shut down. So we've had to go through 2 generations of people wanting to modify. If you constantly are abusing something, eventually you kill it. So now we're talking spirit, y'all. Because what makes the hair follicle grow? What makes it? Yes, we can say, well, Gerald, that's just your genetic code, but what makes up your genetic code? Your spirit. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. Why? Because then we have to acknowledge that God is real. We have to acknowledge that the devil's also real too, as well as the death and destruction that is going on, because these are all byproducts of spiritual warfare, y'all. I ain't got to tell you. You already know. You got your search engine up there to point out examples of what's what. But see, we live in this era of the narcissist that they like to do nothing more than to kill you slow. They like to use random campaigns of emotional abuse. Who am I talking to? You do understand that is also the reason why some of you will go through the season of understanding why people come back. That's why you see people. Why? Just to make sure that you got the lesson. Do you understand what you're witnessing? But yet, the people that you find safety in want to call you crazy. They want to keep you in a box. Let me tell you what. Sooner or later, more than sooner, I can guarantee this. Something is going to happen where you're going to have to make a decision. And some of y'all are going to be sounding like Marvin Gaye. You can be like, this ain't living. This is not my life. And you're going to have to make the decision to, you're going to claim that life back, that beautiful life back, or you're going to just fall in line, play your position, don't complain. Now, I've said enough about that part. Let's bring this home. The next 4 years are going to be so important to your life. Not on what is evident, but how you respond to it. And you're going to see a lot of people that will not be able to manage. A lot of people are going to be acting out. And unfortunately, you're going to see people that will not see the value in their life. And you're going to be hearing about people saying, you know what, I don't want to be here no more. and they're going to be, wow, they're going to be doing some things that really tragic. If you are that person and you have not found comfort, security, emotional safety in what your life is represented, maybe now you can finally be honest with yourself. Maybe now this is the time that you finally look at all those things that you put to the side and say, well, I don't need that, and go back to it. You may be saying, well, Gerald, how you going to say that? Because I burnt these bridges that treated people so bad, Gerald. I was just so mean. Let me tell you something. You can't have your life. You will never get it back until you have that conversation with God. Did you hear what I'm saying? You might as well be spinning wheels on a piece of ice, a sheet of ice. You ain't going nowhere. And the funny thing about it is, figuratively, God told us. He told you. There are going to be people that are going to be praying and their prayers are not going to be answered. Why? Why am I going to give you a blessing when you don't even see value in your life? If you don't see the importance of it, why should I give it to you to watch you squander it? I think somebody that just hits you right in your heart because you finally have the courage to admit to yourself you deserve better. And let me tell you something. When you decide to make the Pepsi switch, all those things that you thought were important to you, you're going to throw them craps out. People, places, and things. You're going to divide yourself from it. You're going to go through a physical, an emotional, but spiritual purge. Because now you're going to see what them angels are going to do. Mm-hmm. Them darn angels are going to be like, it's time. And all those distractions, you're going to actually see it for what it is. You're going to actually see, you know what? That was a demonic influence, and I didn't even know it. The number one tool that demons use for distraction is entertainment. They know what floats your boat, and they give you more of it. Oh yeah, that's what gluttony is about. You know those 7 deadly sins? That's what they use. Because when you start to look at things kind of crystal clear, they're like, no, 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 no. Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? You gotta, no, you wanted this. You wanted this. You wanted this. So stay there. And when you start to kind of shift, try to, you know, do something different, then that's when your problems start to come. The things that you thought were so important, they start to crumble. And you know it's going to happen. Because the more you try to hold on to the illusion, the more harder it gets to hold. So let's flip it. If it was meant for you to have, you wouldn't have to do none of that. And that's the difference between a need and a want. And guess what? There's going to be a whole lot of people walking around shell shocked too. Mm-hmm. That's why you always see the term sheeple. Because what do sheep do? they graze, they're guided. And after the value of them, they're destroyed. And they go get another one. That might be the effect of what's going on in your relationship. Now, let's be honest with your relationships. Look back at every one of them. And what was the commonality of them? Number one, you, because you were there to witness it. You were there to partake in those things. But was what was offered worth your peace of mind? How about them precious tears? Because you know your precious tears is what washes the soul. You know, they actually people walking around that have never cried before because they were taught an ideology that if you show emotion, you are deemed weak. That's contrary. It's the opposite, because if you allow yourself to tap into your emotions, you tap into yourself. Think of it like an onion. There are many layers till you get to the core. The core is your spirit. It is what emits the fragrance of that onion. It is strong. So are you. Because in the middle of you is an endless well of love, knowledge, and abundance. But guess what? If you're not willing to acknowledge what exists, it cannot be protected. And anything that can't be protected has no value. So maybe that's the reason you're seeing Mr. Charlie, I'll call you, or Miss Wiggles. You got a lot of harlots running around here thinking that life is grand, but just know this. A real man does not wear his wealth. He invests it. And he holds on to it the same way he holds on to his dreams. He's going to put that work in. He's going to have his faith there. His faith is what guides his steps. You know why? Because God gave it to you the moment that you took your first breath, just as well as he wrote your life. So if you're going through some stuff right now, if you think you're in a rough patch right now, if it feels not so comfortable these days, I want to let you know your life has something better. But just remember this. You know that heart disappointment you went through? How about that heartbreak? How about that betrayal? How about that letdown? That you thought that your life as you knew it was over? What was over was the illusion. The reality is those people didn't deserve to be in your life at that time. And what was being shown was the truth of it. So guess what? God stepped in and said, come in. It ain't happening. And that's why when you see them, you don't see them the same light that you did. Why? Because two people walking in two different directions can't go forward. Why? It's the protection of the yoke. Because the one, guess what? They hold the keys to the other side of your life. And you know what's on the other side of your life? You. That blessed person. That person that has a testimony. A person that loves themselves. And a person that is priceless. Who am I talking to. Think about it. You have hundreds and thousands of men and women that emulate what they see instead of claiming what they are. God told you from day one, I need faith of a mustard seed. So we can metaphorically say this: trust me, I got your best interest. And he's giving you the first brick to lay down. The more you trust in him, the more comfortable you'll feel with you. Who am I talking to? Because guess what? Not everybody's going to know your story. Not everybody's going to have earned the right to walk with you. How about know your middle name? How about hear you breathe? But unfortunately, there'll be those that will say, well, you know what? I ain't feeling you, bruh. I ain't feeling what you saying. And they'll suffer in silence over and over and over and over and over and over again until the cycle's broken. The only way the cycle can be broken is that you decide to finally love that little boy, that little girl, that precious little girl, and come on back home to yourself. Because if you don't see the value of your life, they'll never understand the value of your dreams. So, y'all, I'm bringing this home. I hope you have a blessed week. For those who watched this to the end, you know God's got something good for you. By all means, all my videos are meant to be shared. If there's somebody that you know that might be going through something, so you know God works in mysterious ways, send it to them. And lastly, if you're supporting me, which the greatest gift was your time, give me a thumbs up. And if you ain't feeling me, give me a thumbs down. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. There's only one you, and that's why he made you blessed. But the kicker is when you gonna claim it. Have a great week, y'all. Bye.